Hey, coffee crew. Welcome back, my besties. I hope you enjoyed the week off and had minimal chaos. My birthday week happened, and listen, I refuse to claim this as my 40s. We are in my 30 the remix years, and this year we're just remixing 32. And honestly, they don't warn you that after a certain point, birthdays are just like a Tuesday. Like a regular, nothing special. Mom, what's for dinner? And honey, where are my socks? Tuesday. Except maybe there's cake. I'm not really a fan of cake, so I had a milkshake. And the socks were, as always, by the chair. It's fine. I have fully claimed this as my glow up era, and no number attached to my name is going to stop me. A DNA kit update. It's mailed. They are doing the genome sequence, is what the tracker says. If you care about the results, stay tuned. And honestly, even if you don't care, I'm going to be reporting back anyway. So whether you want to or not, I am dragging you on this journey with me. Also, the show does now have its own Instagram and Facebook pages. So I did meet that goal. You can find us on Instagram at coffee.crochet.conversation. Period, whatever you prefer. And on Facebook, I'm pretty sure you can just search the name of the show. Both links are now linked to my link tree that's in my bio if that's easier. I've already posted a photo on Instagram of Cloud bossing me around while Rain naps in the background. So really, it's already the perfect representation of the show and my life. Now, we've talked before about tools and technology. And some people have this conception that the tool is the problem. AI is going to ruin everything. Social media is making us miserable. Video games are rotting our brains. But the tool is never the real issue. It's the motivation, the goal behind the system that's using the tool. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Every single generation has a moral panic about whatever the newest technology or medium platform is. Every single one. The silent era, the boomers, Gen X, millennials, Gen Z. Honestly, I think we're in the beta era now. I really can't keep the generation straight anymore. At this point, the generations are basically software updates. We just, keep hitting update and shut down and pray to God that the computer turns on in the morning. Rock music was going to corrupt our youth. Rap music was going to cause gang violence. Yeah, rap music, not poverty, not systematic issues, racism. No, the music was the problem. Comic books were going to make kids violent. Yeah, Congress actually had hearings about Batman and Wonder Woman. Okay, maybe the fashion police should have stepped in because a unitard is never the answer to the question of what should I wear? But that should have been the end of it. Computers were going to make us antisocial. The internet was going to end real human connection. Chat rooms were going to get your kids kidnapped if they just logged in. Video games were supposed to create a whole generation of desensitized serial killers. Meanwhile, I was like 7 years old on my living room floor begging my dad to drive the Toy Story car for me on the Nintendo game because I could not beat the timer. And now AI is going to destroy creativity, eliminate jobs, and depending on who you ask, also trigger the apocalypse. Sure. Why not? Add it to the list. Just can you program it to bring me my coffee first? Because we do not do Apocalypse uncaffeinated. Now, back in episode 8, we talked about Stanley Cohen's moral panic formula. The idea that every generation picks a folk devil, a thing to blame everything on that they're afraid of. But so today we're going to kind of expand on that a little bit. It's not just that we keep doing this. It's what links all these panics together. Because when you line them up, the thing being panicked about keeps changing. But that system behind the panic, that part never changes. Now, sometimes it's two systems fighting each other. Government, religion. Sometimes it's one system that benefits from the fight itself and doesn't care what the sides even are. Oligarchs. Because again, the system benefits when we don't really pay attention to what they're doing. The tool doesn't have values. A guitar doesn't have values. A comic book doesn't have values. A video game doesn't have values. And even AI doesn't have values. It's the system that is behind it. Who controls it, who profit from it, who it scares, who it changes, and even who it helps. And that is where the real conversation should be. All right, I hope you guys are ready for our weekly My Life Chaos story. So I've mentioned before that my kids do online public school. What that means for us in Ohio is the state requires monitored testing. So we actually have to drive to a testing site and do it in person. Now, I am not, nor have I ever been, a fan or a supporter of standardized testing. My kids are smart, creative. They don't test well. And the story I'm going to give you is going to kind of show you why. So my youngest son had his ELA testing, English Language Arts, for those who don't have kids in school, during my week off, which it worked out for me because ELA is like his least favorite subject. And writing is like his personal arch nemesis. So you can imagine he was thrilled. And teenagers are not quiet when they're not happy about something. They're smartasses. Well, maybe just mine, but it's his genetics, I'm telling you. Our rule for testing has always been, I want you to take your time. I want you to do your best. And that's all I care about. We do not stress the score because just like age, it's an arbitrary number. So he takes about an hour and a half, which for him is good. And on the way home, I ask how the writing section went because, again, arch nemesis. And he said, bad. Yeah, that's what every parent wants to hear after a standardized test. So at this point, I'm just praying he wrote something. So I ask him, did you at least write something? Because again, all we ask is that you try your best. And my husband, being the incredibly helpful person that he always is, says, you didn't just write this is stupid, right? Cue suspicious silence from the back seat. Like crickets. We both turn around and go, please tell me you did not write that. I'm thinking, who am I going to have to send a formal apology to? And he goes, well, no, but one of the questions asked why something happened in the passage, and I wrote, it happened, why does it matter? I couldn't be mad. I genuinely could not. Because this is my autistic son, and a majority of autistic kids are blunt and very literal. He answered the question. Technically, the event happened. His position is the causality is irrelevant. The knowing why won't change the fact that it happened. You cannot accuse this kid of using AI to cheat and write his responses, because no AI on earth would submit that as an answer. Their answers are usually long, have at least 4 here's the thing, and go into more detail than anyone asked for. Why does it matter as an answer on a standardized test? That is pure, unfiltered human chaos energy. And honestly, respect. Tools can fake a lot of things. They cannot fake my kid. If only because yours truly will never know what's going to come out of his mouth next. You know, that test might grade for standards, but it does not grade for smartass. And that is where my kid shines. All right, AI is the current panic. And look, I'm not going to lie. There are legitimate things the public needs to be aware of. The environmental cost is real. The energy usage, the water usage, it's not nothing. It needs researched for better ways. It needs oversight, and it needs regulation. The concern about it replacing critical thinking is also real. Just like when Google became a thing. Look, streamlining research is great, but letting the machine think for you, not so great. And not to show my age here, but remember writing a paper for those around my age, and you had to go to the library and use the card catalog? First off, you had to already know the name of the book just to start your search. You couldn't just Google, crickets. You had to know the name of the cricket book. When I explain this to my kids, they look at me like I'm speaking a dead language when I mention it. So yeah, making that process faster is good. Losing the thinking part about writing the report, not good. These are the differences that are worth talking about. But the fear underneath it all, the thing that actually needs to be named and regulated, again, is the unchecked power of who is deploying these tools and what their incentives are. So I'm going to go over a few. Social media. The algorithm did not accidentally become evil. Social media was supposed to connect us. Facebook, TikTok, if you're in your remix years like me, MySpace. The stated goal was beautiful. Bringing people together, sharing ideas, pictures for family and friends that live out of state, building community. But the algorithm didn't get built for that. It got built to maximize engagement at any cost. And it turns out the thing that brings the most engagement, outrage. It means outrage. It means pain. It means fear. Because those things will keep people on that app longer. They keep you scrolling. They keep you looking. And then you get funneled into an echo chamber designed to keep you in this never-ending fear and anger loop. The tool didn't do that. The system behind the tool made the deliberate choice to build it that way because it was more profitable. More time in the app means more clicks. More clicks means they can charge more money for ads. And suddenly, it's not about accurate information or connecting with friends. It's about keeping you angry so they can make more money. Another one is gaming. Gaming isn't the problem. The monetization of gaming is. The monetization design is the big problem. They deliberately add addiction mechanics, loot boxes, battle passes. The psychological hooks that were designed by teams of behavioral scientists to keep people spending. That's the problem. Also, the trend of using games as a babysitter or a teacher. Being able to put in those guardrails so parents are more willing to buy them. That's a problem, not the game itself. I've been playing games my entire life. My parents are divorced. That's how me and my dad bonded on the weekends. But he never made it replace our conversations. The game was a way for us to connect and then have conversations. So what's the real issue? Well, it's who benefits. The people who profit from the tool get to decide how the tool works. That's the actual issue. Regulatory capture, monopoly power. The same corporations that are lobbying in government against regulations are the ones who design the system. That's what needs scrutiny. AI making your job easier, your life more manageable? That's great, truly. I don't care that my kids don't know how to use a card catalog. Hell, I barely remember how to use a card catalog. There's a reason that library science was a whole degree in school. But AI replacing workers so corporations can eliminate payroll and pocket that difference, that's what needs regulation. You want to add AI to make the worker's job easier? Great. Not to replace the worker. The distinction is not complicated. It just requires asking who benefits from this. Think about a hammer. A hammer can build a homeless shelter. A hammer can also be used as a weapon. I've been on a true crime kick lately on my TV, and yeah, a lot of people use hammers. You don't blame the hammer. You look at the person holding it and what they decide to do with the hammer. You look at the person who's deciding whether they want to build schools or prisons. And usually that decision comes down to what generates the most revenue or power, not what actually helps people more. The tool is neutral. The system, that bitch is always greedy. All right, coffee crew, brews news time. As always, we date stamp these. It's April 15th, 2026, 6 o'clock in the morning. News moves fast. You know my drill. It's going to be a big brews news, but it's only going to focus on a couple things because with me being off for the week, the Epstein update is huge. Pam Bondi was fired on April 2nd. Trump was reportedly unhappy with how she handled the Epstein files. Now, the deposition for her was scheduled for April 14th, yesterday. It did not happen. The DOJ sent a letter to the House Oversight Committee saying that since Bondi was subpoenaed in her capacity as Attorney General, and she no longer holds that office, the subpoena no longer applies. And they're asking the committee to confirm it is withdrawn. Democrats and even some Republicans on the committee are calling this a cover-up and are threatening contempt charges. Even Rep. Nancy Mace, she's especially pushing back, arguing the subpoena was issued to Pam Bondi by name, not the title, and that she is still legally obligated to appear. It would be like if I got a letter saying Stephanie, podcaster of Coffee, Crochet, and Conversation. That title is just how you're taught to address formal letters. If it had been to the office and not the person, it would have just said the Attorney General with no name listed. Now, Massey and Khan, who've been headlining this entire thing, sent a letter to Chairman Coleman urging him to publicly reaffirm the subpoena. The committee says they will contact Bondi's personal counsel to reschedule. Survivors Maria and Annie Farmer released a statement saying that until Bondi's deposition happens under oath, they will keep pushing. Todd Blanche, who has been elevated to acting attorney general, said he'd leave it to Comer to figure out. So we're going to kind of watch and see if Comer enforces this or lets it die. But let's be honest, he made such a fuss about the Clintons testifying. It will be very interesting to watch him dance in the corner he painted himself into. Tova Nobel. That was the prison guard that was on duty the night that Epstein died. She was supposed to testify on March 26th, and that was postponed due to scheduling issues. And no new date has been set. The files themselves have shed some new light on that night in question, including an inmate that at the MCC who told the FBI he overheard the guard saying, "Dude, you killed that dude." And a female guard saying if he's dead, they would cover it up. Now, that count is unsubstantiated, which means I couldn't prove it, but it's in the files. So it doesn't mean it's true, but it means there are questions that need answers sooner rather than later. And we also had talked about DEA Operation Chain Reaction. Senator Wyden had sent a letter to the DEA, if you don't remember, requesting the unredacted 69-page Operation Chain Reaction memo, where Epstein and 14 others were investigated for drug trafficking and money laundering. The case was opened in 2010, and it was still active in 2015, but 0 charges were ever filed. Wyden's staff was told that the DEA was ready to comply, until now acting AG Blanche personally stepped in and blocked it. So Wyden sent a scathing letter to Blanche accusing him of obstruction, to which Blanche, of course, publicly denied, calling it a completely fabricated story. Wyden fired back, saying the files are being hidden in a black box, that the DOJ is surveilling members of Congress who go to view them, and that Blanche, who just happens to be Trump's former personal criminal defense attorney, cannot be trusted on anything Epstein related. The memo is marked unclassified. The 14 co-conspirators' names remain redacted. The OCDETF unit that ran Chain Reaction was shut down by the Trump administration in 2025 with no resolutions as of now. So that's kind of where that stands. The pattern here is worth naming. We had depositions scheduled. The AG who oversaw the files got fired. They're now using that firing, saying the obligation disappeared with the title. Some are questioning whether or not that was really the driving force behind the fire, but there's no proof. Meanwhile, 2.5 million documents are still unreleased. As always, do not look away from this. Justice.gov/Epstein if you want to see the files yourself. Now I want to talk about Eric Swalwell. And I want to say something here because it's coming up and I think it needs to be said. I used to think, well, I do think, Swalwell was sharp. He was very good in congressional hearings. I thought he asked good questions, and I thought he was effective at his job. Now, that being said, 2 things can be true at the same time. You can be good at your job and be a shitty person. The 2 are not mutually exclusive. It's not a coupon program where your professional competence cancels out your personal conduct. Every person gets to be assessed on both. That's it. That's the whole point. So while he was good at his job, He doesn't need to be in a position to represent people when it looks like he caused harm to the types of people he was supposed to represent. Tony Gonzalez of Texas was also facing accusations. He supposedly had an affair with a staffer who later died by suicide. Now, they have both stepped down from their roles, and that's good. This is the kind of accountability we want to see in our government. I saw a report that said there's been something like $17 million in payments made from Congress to victims of discrimination, assault, that kind of stuff. You know, I saw an interview with a former Speaker of the House that was like, well, everybody knew. Everybody knew you keep your young staff away from Swalwell and Getz. Well, if everybody knew, why didn't everybody do something about it? That's what we're wanting from things like the Epstein files. People in power who do these type of things, getting their power taken away, no matter what party they belong to. I am judging you on the moral of your character, not the color of the party you drape yourself in. And that's our large Brews News update. Okay, if the system is the problem, and the system is large, and we are small, does that mean we're just stuck? No. But it does mean we need to be intentional and direct with our focus and our actions. The most valuable thing you can build right now is critical thinking as a practice. Not a personality trait where you go around distrusting everything and call yourself a skeptic. What we don't need to argue about is the sky blue with white or white with blue. You know, let's take a page out of my son's playbook and say that it's there and some days are cloudy. Let's focus on what matters. We need critical thinking as an actual skill, meaning when you encounter a tool, a platform, a piece of content, even this podcast, ask who made this, or more importantly, who profits from this. Because in our world today, money equals power and power equals more power. The drive is to get one, to get more of the other. It all kind of goes hand in hand. So ask, what am I being steered toward and why? Sometimes that question alone can change how you move through information. Also, community is the antidote to algorithm isolation. The algorithm wants you alone and angry because remember, that's what keeps you scrolling. So the counter to that is actual human connection. Conversations like this with the coffee crew. Maybe a group chat, a crafting circle, the people in your real life. I recently joined a runners club. I came in last during the run because let me tell you what, there is a difference between a treadmill run and actually outside with hills and stuff run. They're two totally different monsters. But the point of me joining wasn't to perfect my run or to come in first. It was connecting with other people who enjoy running. Those relationships that exist outside of the system's reach and are worth protecting. Like you guys here with me. Choose your tools with intention. This is not about avoidance. I am not telling you to delete everything and go live in the woods. It's about awareness. Knowing what a platform is optimized for. And making a conscious choice about how much of yourself you give it. And I've said this before. I do use AI for this show. It helps me organize. It helps me research, fact check. I really like it for my Brews News because It keeps track of what I've reported, so it helps me kind of figure out what my updates are, so I'm not just constantly reiterating the same thing. What it does not do, it does not direct my opinion, my snark, or my what the fuck life moments. Those are all me, and that is what I share with you. AI just kind of helps me, oh, look, a squirrel every segment, go off on a tangent. It also helps me, like when I was working on this week's show and Cloud decided that she was going to sit on my keyboard and I kept losing my place. Also, the crafting parallel is real here. Just like a hammer is a hammer, a crochet hook's a crochet hook. It has no agenda. What you make with it, how you use it, the time and the skill that you put into it, that's yours. The system cannot manufacture that. It cannot replicate the imperfection, the intention, the humanity of something you made with your hands. The machine can produce something polished, but it can't produce you. And sometimes the imperfection is what makes it authentic. You're not powerless just because the system is large. You vote, you choose where you spend your money, your time, your attention. You ask questions, you stay informed, and you show up. The system very much prefers that you feel powerless and like nothing that you do matters, because that keeps you on your phone, scrolling, complaining. That's all by design. Don't give it. Do not give it. We drink our coffee and we do what we want. Not what we're told. Be like Cloud. Sit on your keyboard if the mood strikes. All right, let's get into our shuffle happens. Take a nice, deep breath. Let the noise settle. I got you all pumped up. Now let me help you calm your nervous system back down. This week's card is the Seven of Wands. Close your eyes if you can and just relax. The card is dark overall. You're in a desert somewhere. The only light is coming from the right side of the card. Everything else is shadow and heat. You can see creatures, but you can't tell what they are. Some, the ones more in the light, have clear shapes, 4 legs, a tail. The others are just shifting in the shadows. You can maybe see, a tail here. Maybe that's an ear. They're out there, but you can't tell how many, how big, or what they even really are. The threat is real, but it's not fully visible to you. Standing in the center of the card is a strong, proud Egyptian man in his gold battle armor, a deadly spear strapped on his back, a gold crown on his head with a cloth draped around his neck like a shawl. His protection against the whirling sand. His mouth is covered with a golden red mask. His right eye is glowing red, while his left one is closed. Behind him is a large lion-like creature, gray, with fangs and a mane. The ears, though, are shaped more like horns. This creature's looking towards the edge of the card, towards the light. And its right eye is glowing red too, as if the man and the lion are connected, part of the same. the lion is snarling, almost as in warning. Both of them are geared to stand their ground. Whatever those creatures are, if they come, the man and the lion will face them together. They will move as one. Upright, the Seven of Wands is about holding your position. When everything is pushing you back, you have built something. You have earned something. You have a perspective or a value or a piece of ground that is yours. And this card is the moment of having to defend it. Not from a place of fear, but from a place of knowing what you stand for. The man is not panicking. He is prepared. He has the lion. He isn't alone. Reversed, the Seven of Wands asks, where are you caving when you should be holding? Where are you abandoning something you have worked for because the pressure got uncomfortable? Where are you letting other people's noise make you doubt what you actually know? This card reversed is not cowardice. It's exhaustion. It is the weight of having to keep defending the same ground over and over. And it asks you to check in with yourself. Is this a battle worth continuing? Or have you been fighting so long you've lost sight of what you were protecting? The shadows in this card are not fully visible. You cannot always know the size of what you were up against. But the man and the lion are standing anyway, together. This week, know that you might not be able to see what's in the shadow, but you, with your inner lion, are prepared to stand your ground and not let the system use your fear of the unknown to control you. All right, coffee crew. Let's sum this up and get you ready to face your shadows. Remember, the tool is not the enemy. But do not for 1 second pretend that the system behind it is neutral. It never is. Every time something new rolls out, ask who profit if it takes effect. That question will usually tell you more than any headline ever will. The hammer is a hammer. We're the ones who need to tell the system how to use the hammer. Quick little milestone update here. We are now reaching 48 countries. And since moving to a new host on 12/7, I am still at our no zero download day streak. Knock on wood. What that means is at least one person is listening to me every single day. And I will be honest with you. When I started this, I was not sure even one person wanted to hear what I had to say. The fact that it's a daily thing in multiple countries is something that every time I check and see, it surprises me. So thank you, every single one of you. I clock every download. My OCD kind of demands it. Again, our social media is up and running. Instagram is coffee.crochet.conversation. Facebook, search the show, or my link tree in the bio. Come find us. We're creating our own community here. If you can, feed the algorithm monster a little. Like, share, rate, whatever your platform chooses, thumbs up, kind of thing. It helps us attract even more people to join our weekly coffee chats. We are slowly growing follow by follow. And like I said, we'll have our own little community of people here that will tell the system to shut up and fill up our coffee. And as always, coffee crew, keep your stitches sassy, your coffee strong, and your spirit grounded.